I haven't lost hope, in all honesty. There is now two movements that are, in my mind, linked together. First, there is a group of Palestinian and Israeli academicians and intellectuals and who are committed to promoting the concept of one state west of the Jordan River for both Palestinians and Israelis on equal grounds, a democratic, secular, single state with equality for everybody involved, and with actualizing the right of return for the Palestinian refugees. That's one movement. And the other, which in my mind I link to this, is the BDS movement in the United States and in Europe and all over the world, which boycott, divestment, and sanctions, the kind of action that is really snowballing at this time. It is catching on among the American public and the European public, and that should be sufficient pressure, especially the economic and the cultural pressure on Israel, to change its ways and to come around to a real peaceful solution, which is, as I said, a single state for both peoples in the area west of the Jordan River. I know that the leader of the Joint List, for those who don't know, is the essentially Palestinian community's representatives in the Israeli parliament at this stage. The head of this group is named Ayman Odi, a young man who is a lawyer, who is a very capable young man, and he comes across as a very humane and understanding kind of person who can negotiate such difficult concepts and projects, that I am very hopeful for a change of mind among the Palestinian, of course, but also among the Israeli Jewish crowd, community. The problem is that at the same time that he and the Joint List came around about, there was a clear shift further to the right in the Israeli political scene. And so Israel from within is not going to change, whether with the Joint List or without the Joint List. The Israeli political scene is not about to change from within. The change has to come from the outside through pressure from the international community and specifically from the American public. This happened once before in South Africa, and it should happen here. It is definitely a conflict, two people arguing about a piece of land to whom it belongs. And the people who are its native population today are being driven out by somebody who is essentially of European extraction, as we are now finding out, and on the basis of claims to historical roots from 3,000 years ago and so on. And the connection actually is a very fanatic kind of connection, but it is really an invented connection. There is very little proof, if any at all, that this community of Zionist, European Jewish root, that it came originally from the Holy Land. They adopted Judaism at some stage in their history, and this claim was really promoted only by the Zionist movement to justify their project to displace, and the project was spelled out in those terms, to drive out the Palestinian population and take over the land. And that's what has happened and still happening. My last name is Kanaaneh, and that's Arabic for Canaanites. We claim that we belong to the land on which we sit for 3,000 to 4,000 years at least. In fact, just before I came over to the United States, a neighbor stumbled on a stone in his backyard, and he cleaned it, and lo and behold, it is the image of Ashtar, the Canaanite goddess of fertility. So, I mean, I haven't moved from there for 3,000 years, man. So that's one. Secondly, they claim that Palestinians and Jews have been fighting for, so is a lie, because I know my grandmother had right next door to her in the city of Acre, had very, very dear friends who were Jewish Palestinians from way back when. And in fact, the problem between Palestine and Israel goes back only to the time the Zionist movement started. There's no enmity between Arabs and Jews. There's no enmity between Muslims and Jews. The enmity is really with the Zionist colonialist project. That is what brought about the misunderstanding between Jews and Arabs, or Jews and Palestinians. And that is what we have to deal with, not historical. The historical facts speak to the contrary of that. Yeah, and we are, if we are to make peace, we have automatic partners, the Palestinian Jews and the Arab Jews who came from all over the Middle East and South North Africa, and those are automatic partners for us because they have the same culture. What really essentially ruined their culture for them, and trying to ruin my culture as a Palestinian for me, is the Zionist colonial project led by Ashkenazi, Western European Jewish mentality. And that is what we are up against. And the term anti-Semitism or anti-Semitic has been really devalued by overuse. You throw it at anybody who doesn't like what Israel is doing to the Palestinians, or what Israel did last year in attacking Gaza and killing 2,000 plus people and destroying I don't know how many thousand homes. So to object to what Israel is doing automatically becomes, in the eyes of the propaganda machine in Israel and their supporters in the United States, becomes anti-Semitic, which has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. The conflict is about the rights of native Palestinians in their homes and in their land. The idea that anybody who objects to Israeli policies and Israeli war machine is anti-Semitic is ridiculous, of course, because also in terms of the reality of the words that you're using, I am Semitic, and of course it is a contradiction to call my defending my rights as being anti-Semitic. So in essence, lots of people often mix the two together. In essence, we are not, and Palestinians have no conflict with the Jewish people. They have a conflict with the Zionist colonial project that has designs on their lives and on their culture. To the project, or the Israel as it exists today, tries to essentially erase not only the Palestinian communities as physical entities, but also the Palestinian communities as a cultural storage of all of our history. And so the issue is not with Jews, not in any sense with Jews, but essentially with the political machine that leads the continuing Zionist colonial project to this day.
Dr. Kanaaneh will be on a book tour in the United States throughout fall 2015 and winter of 2016. To schedule a talk or book event at your venue, please contact him directly at hatimkanaaneh@gmail.com. You can also contact Dr. Kanaaneh through his publisher, Just World Books, at events@justworldbooks.com or by phone 888-506-3769.